at Corumdale Farm. We are a Year 2 Oklahoma flower farm that sells retail market bouquets from our roadside stand. It's early July and it's time for another field tour. Last time we did a field tour, it was May 31st, and the field behind me was just tiny and green. There was no color. Things were just starting to get going for summer. And now fast forward a month later, and I already have a couple rows that have been fully harvested and are done, and everything is colored up. So I'm really excited to show you. Like I mentioned, we filmed an early summer tour at the end of May, and when we did that, the snapdragons were just starting to bud up, and now fast forward a month, I've already harvested all of the snapdragons I'm going to in our 2.5 rows. Our rows are 30 feet long, so 2.5 rows was 75 feet. And I, at one point in the middle of June, was like drowning in snapdragons. We did a big snapdragon only bouquet sale that was a huge hit because I just had so many stems and it was wonderful. I'm standing in front of our rocket mix. We had a Potomac mix, and everything that's still blooming is things I'm not gonna cut. They are too damaged or going to seed. A couple reasons we had so many is in this mix, some of the stems were thinner and smaller than I really wanted for our bouquets, but the perk of letting things bloom out and not cutting everything on our farm is our flower stand and farm are located right on the roadside. And so anything that I leave to open for bloom is just beautiful color that people see from the road, and it just serves as a marketing element for us, for people to enjoy. So while I know that there are flowers that are not good enough for me to put in a bouquet, people that are coming to the stand and driving by the road see it and they're like, oh my gosh, look at this flower farm with all of this color. So it's a bit of a win-win that I still have things that are colorful for people to look at, even if I'm not cutting on them. The row I am most excited about right now is our Lisianthus row. We have 30 feet of Lisianthus, we have a mix, and then we have a solid, beautiful lavender color. They are all in bloom. It is what our bouquets are featuring right now. We had a huge sale. Our biggest sale of the year was last Saturday. And there's a car driving behind us looking at the flower farm because they love to see the flowers. So the marketing's working. But Lisianthus are the star of the show right now, and I want to show them to you because I'm so proud that I grew them so well. So we grew a mix. I'm a mix girl. I like to try all the different colors. We sell retail, so I don't need huge chunks of the same color like maybe I would for a florist. So I did a mix. I am loving it. I think my customers love the dark purples the most. That was really eye-catching for everyone. My heart goes to the Barbie pinks and the apricots and the whites, but it was really wonderful to be able to give people a couple different colors to enjoy in their bouquets. I still have lots to cut on, so that's going to be the star again this week is the Lisianthus. And then this section is all one color. It's a beautiful, beautiful icy lavender. Some of them are tarnished because we did get some rain, so I'll come in and pinch this out. But if you notice, they have a million buds on them. So even if I come through and pinch out a rain damaged one, this stem is still going to have lots of buds that are going to open for people. I am so thrilled. Lisianthus is one of probably the most expensive crop on the farm in the summer because we bought them from plugs and they take 6 months to flower. So sunflowers turn over in 60 days and then I can plant new ones. I've been waiting since early March when I planted these out to get them. So they're pricey, they're a long wait, but I am just thrilled with how they turned out, and I think our customers are really enjoying having a flower in their bouquets that they would never have in their garden. So we have a snapdragon row, what did I say? Snapdragon.
That's what our children are.
Snapdragons, yeah, we have 4 snapdragons around here somewhere. Another snapdragon row that looks beautiful from the road, but I'm not cutting on it anymore. This was our sunflower row, the first one that we planted. I have cut everything I'm going to. It looks horrible. It's covered in mildew, and we need to talk about what we're going to do with it. It needs to be cut down soon, but it's one of those tasks that just haven't gotten around to yet. This row is our gladiola row. We planted it in 2 sections. I've already been cutting hard on this section. Probably 300 total. I love gladiolas, hit or miss with people, whether they like them or not. I really love them. I think they're wonderfully impactful, and so I will grow them every year even if people don't necessarily ask for them. I like gladiolas, and I'm going to grow it because it's my farm. In this row is my half of snapdragon, but I want to take you down here because I grew a lot of repeat flowers like the workhorses, the zinnias, the sunflowers, the glads that I grow every year. But I wanted to try growing status this year, and it is like, I think, almost my favorite flower so far outside of the Lisianthus. I have loved growing it. I love using it in our bouquets, and unfortunately I wish I had a full row because it's kind of starting to wind down in its production because I've been cutting so hard on this row. But status is a wonderful dried flower, so it lasts forever in people's vases, and it sends up a really interesting stem with a couple branching florets on top. Let me get this one. And it's so interesting in the bouquet. Different structure, different texture, and it's gonna last people 10, 14 days. So then you definitely get people remarking how long their bouquet lasts. It's like, we'll put in a flower that's good as a dried flower. It's gonna last forever. So status is one of the flowers that is not getting axed. It's getting promoted next year for a full row of status. The star of the show, the summer primo flower that everyone waits for, everyone loves, it is the zinnias. I have 90 feet of zinnias in my first planted row. They're mostly all Bennery's Giant, which is your big giant, as big as you can get zinnias, and they're just in every single color I pretty much chose. The full rainbow is here. I have been cutting hard on these 3 rows, if you can believe it, and there's a million more stems. There's hundreds and hundreds of stems here that I could cut, that I will cut on. We had a whitefly infestation that I really did think through tears and stress might tank our zinnias, but we were able to get it under control thanks to husband help and science and all of that stuff. We've defeated the whitefly. We are actively defeating the cucumber beetle, and the zinnias look incredible. They're huge in the bouquets. People ask for them. And another thing is everyone can see it from the road, and it is just so eye-catching and wonderful. And I know if people didn't think they would get in trouble for it, they would hop the fence to try to walk in these zinnias up close. I talked about how I love a good mix. You can't go wrong with the Bennery's Giant mix. This whole 60-foot row, 30-foot row is the Bennery Giant mix. The mix, it will be 60 foot. The mix, Bennery's, is the zinnias that get just absolutely mondo. This is probably 4 inches across. They're absolutely beautiful. They're huge. When you get the mix, you get every color. My customers don't need a monochromatic or a complementary look. They want the rainbow. They want all the colors to enjoy. And like, my goodness, is anyone going to complain about having like a giant Barbie pink and a giant orange together? No, they love it. They want more of it. So I will always grow the Bennery Giant mix. Now, sometimes it's fun to do color blocking, and I experimented with that in this row. So in the front is Bennery Giant Salmon, which is salmon color. It's going to be this color. Followed by Bennery's Giant Lime. Lime does not get as big, but I find it for a spring color just wonderful because your tones typically for early summer are softer. They're more lavenders and corals and pastels and pinks, and you add that lime green and it's really striking. So I really enjoyed the Bennery Lime. So I'm a big fan of Bennery's. I mainly only grow Bennery's, but we live in Oklahoma, and zinnias come in an Oklahoma series. They're a smaller flower, so I thought I need to grow a couple of the Oklahoma series. And so right here is the pink Oklahoma series. You can tell that it's very clearly smaller than the Bennery, but I don't know how much it comes up on camera. These plants send up more stems than Bennery because they're a smaller flower. They send up more of those buds, and so you get more flowers than the big giant mondos. And so you put in a beautiful lime with the smaller pink, but you get more stems of these, so you can stuff your bouquets a little bit fuller, which I think people enjoy. So I have a beautiful block of pink here, followed by a lot of white. Normally white isn't great, especially with bug pressure, but I had the seed and it's turned out really lovely. And if you can believe it, even for a white flower, which bugs love, it's relatively damage free. So when I put the pink, the white, and the beautiful Bennery lime together, I think it screams early summer and pink and girly, which I like. And I know I'm not growing just for myself, but I would pick that bouquet. Along with Bennery primarily and some Oklahoma, I also grow smaller sections of the Queen series. They have Queen lime, blush, orange, red, and I think a lemon now. This is the blush, and the cool thing about the Queen series is it's two-toned. So you're not getting a solid block of purple, orange, yellow. You're getting two-toned. Smaller flower, but just the coolest mix. And every single one is just slightly different to enjoy. Some of them have more lime, some of them have more blush, some of them end up being like a double, which is just really neat. And I think they really stand out to people because people don't typically find these seeds and grow them in their own garden. They're two-toned. So the Queen series is really neat. Again, giant Bennery mix, but on this side is my Gomphrena. I know, fireworks everywhere. Gomphrena is a wonderful dried flower along with Status, so it holds its color a really long time in a bouquet. It's not very bulky, so you kind of need a lot of stems, but it looks like a Dr. Seuss flower. It's really funky, it's really interesting little pom-pom, and so people ask about it in the bouquet. It's really nice. It's like a little puff that you put in at the top. They're a complete pain in the butt to harvest. It's not very fast, not very easy, but I like the uniqueness and the color. People see it from the road and they see these mounds of little pom-poms and they're like, what is that? Tell me more. So it's a good marketing flower, I think. Then the rest of the row is marigolds. They got pretty beat up in the derecho tornado we had a couple weeks ago. It's a lot of bent over stems, so I kind of need to go and give them a hard prune, so maybe they'll reflush stronger. But the marigolds for a while there in May were a really helpful flower to me. Behind me is our last field to be planted. We're treating this last field as our succession planting. So a lot of the stuff in here is going to replace the first field I showed you, especially as like the zinnias and stuff, they start to get a bit tired. They've been growing and giving us blooms since June and July. So the field behind me is largely going to be my August, September, and October flowers when they're at their absolute best. But some of them are so happy they're already blooming. Even though they're a bit short, they're still blooming. Here I have a wonderful example though for you of what happens when you get tired and lazy and you don't complete the project as you should. These are snapdragons. They were the last of the seeds I started. I planted them out really quickly and I never got my act together in putting netting in, and you have to net snapdragons. So I can't use these stems. I'm leaving them for color because the color looks great for marketing, but they're too short because they've just been bent over and they just look like drunk flowers stumbling all over the place. So I'm leaving them for color, but this is not what your snapdragons should look like. They did get blown over too. Here is a row of cosmos. So I'll say this field we really struggled with. We had really great, largely great transplant rates and direct seeding rates in the first field. This field, we had really bad germination. When we planted out a bunch of our transplants, it was like one of the hottest days so far this summer. We had a lot of dieback, so I had a lot of gaps and issues, and so I have more holes in this field than I want to in the future, and I'll work on fixing that next year. In year 3, you live and you learn. So the Cosmo row is not as full and lush as I would like, but I have plants. I have some bright lights, which are orange, that are beautiful. And then I have some deep purple, like wine color, called Rubenza. And then I just came in with a bunch of really beautiful Cosmo. Went in with a bunch of extra Zinnia plugs that I had and put them in the gaps. So eventually this row will be full. It's not going to be full of Cosmos. It's going to be like kind of a hodgepodge. Same with marigolds over here. I have Cosmos, I have Zinnias going, and then I have the marigolds. The marigolds are a bright, deep orange for fall, which will be beautiful. All of these rows are going to need to get their netting here pretty soon so that if we do have a storm, they don't start flopping over and we have issues. So that's on the to-do list. But a good, fresh marigold row with some random Cosmos mixed in. Our customers love zinnias. I'm thankful they love zinnias because we live in a very, very hot summer, and zinnias love the heat. They can handle our Oklahoma heat. So in our last field, I went big on the zinnias, and I have almost 5 full rows planted of zinnias in beautiful, deep, rich fall colors. So in August, September, and October, I'm just going to be like the zinnia queen here in Northeast Oklahoma, giving all of my customers the zinnias they crave. This field was planted out in the beginning of June, so it's about a month old. It's already blooming. As you can tell, they're like knee height compared to the zinnias I showed you over there planted in April, which are getting up to like bicep height. So these guys have a long way to go and are going to be beautiful, but I can actually start cutting on them this week, which I'm excited about. They're Benaries, coral, wine, orange, all the fall colors. But this section right here is Queen Lime Lemon and Queen Lime Orange, and I want to show you up close just how cool they look. It's like every flower is completely different. Benaries are very uniform. Queen Lime is super unique. So you get really neat two-tone colors, and then you get just like a bright yellow, and then an apricot pops up. This one's so cool. This one's a double that looks like a pom-pom shape. So they're all different, and I really, really like that. I like their unique little personalities. And of course I have more Benaries mix and all of that fun stuff. This is a half row of basil. I have lemon basil and cinnamon basil. They smell beautiful, and that's why I grow them, because zinnias don't really have a smell, and I mean, marigolds are a love or hate smell, but basil, everyone's like, what is that? It smelled so good. And it's like, it was the basil. So you can tell the difference here based on the flower. The brighter green is the lemon, and without exaggeration, it smells just like a lemon, like lemon zest. And then the purple is the cinnamon basil, and I like it because the flower is purple, the stem is purple, so it gives you a really moody, darker fall color that complements all the other zinnias and stuff we grow. It's my basil section. I planted more gomphrena because mine will start to get tired and start going to seed in September. So I planted a small section of orange gomphrena, which I think will look nice. And then all of these got planted, these little plugs, these little guys, all got planted on Saturday. So we're talking probably August, I'll see them blooming. But again, I want to show you more queen series. I keep raving about Benaries and then just showing you queen, but they're just so unique and interesting. So queen red, I'm showing you all of them. Look at queen red here. Really, really neat. It's like you have some purplies, you have some reds.
Look at this one.
Which one are you seeing? But then you come over here and like this one looks like you antiqued. And then since I'm giving you just basically a tour of all the queen options, this is Queen Lime Orange. So again, it's like a very similar two-toned look, but like every single one in the mix is different. You just get some really cool things, and people ask you like what is this? Like, what is this? That's super neat. So like I mentioned, I thought also this field was going to be a loss from our hot transplant day and then whiteflies attacking all the baby plants, trying to get rooted in. We solved the problem. This field looks wonderful, and I'm really excited that we're prepared for fresh flowers, maximum bloom size flowers in September and October, when I hope other people's gardens are really sad and lame and they're like, how do you still have beautiful flowers? And they buy more of our flowers. This last field we have 3 fields this year in year 2. This is largely my sunflower succession planting field. And so every week I started 2 or 3 trays of sunflowers. So every week I was starting seeds and I was having transplants put in, and so I was constantly having sunflowers. So an example of that is we just planted out some more plugs in that row. And then this row is at varying stages of getting ready to bloom. So the front section is largely bloomed out. I used them on Saturday. This middle section, I'm like eyeing every day, hoping that they're ready like midweek, end of the week for sale. And then these guys will be ready probably based on the bud size about 10 days from now. So I constantly have sunflowers, which is a big goal of mine last year. I didn't do a very good job and I was determined to do better in year 2, and I did, so it's a win. Live and you learn. But these, you can tell, are spent. They're getting tired, they're getting sick. You get up close and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a horror show. So we need to deal with it. This is a big to-do for us this week. This is a row that hasn't yet had the holes burned and get planted, but we will, and those will be fall sunflowers with the succession planting. But yeah, this is a little bit like from the road looks decent and up close looks like a horror show. But after you get past the horror show, it's our dahlia row, surprise! This is all one variety. We wanted to try doing dahlias in ground, not just in our raised garden, see how they did in our clay soil, our wet spring conditions. And it's been wonderful. They're doing wonderfully. The tornado derecho knocked one of them over. Not too happy, but largely it's beautiful. And I'm loving the variety. It has a dark purple green foliage, which I love. It's super moody, but then it sets out this beautiful lighter orange. It's called David Howard is the variety. I keep cutting on them pretty hard so they keep producing, and I think this will definitely be beautiful in our fall bouquets if I can limp these guys through our very hot summers here. But I am just thrilled with how successful our dahlias have been this year, considering they're not the easiest crop to grow in Oklahoma. And last in the row is our tomato wall. We have all slicing tomatoes growing up, cattle panels, and oh my gosh, are they happy? We have like huge, massive tomatoes growing. I've already started to pull some to enjoy inside. I think some of the biggest tomatoes I've ever grown are down here. Like, come look at this one, just to show how happy these tomatoes are. Like, here's my hand for reference. They're absolutely massive. So they're really happy. But one of my design theories, I mentioned this in our earlier video and I was like, stay tuned to see if it works. We put the tomatoes in our last row. Our beds run north to south. The sun sets over here to my right. And I wanted to grow the tomatoes to cast shade on the dahlias so they don't get blasted until like 9 p.m. but they start to get a little bit of a break around 6 o'clock. And I think it's working out really well because these are not stressed. I do not have to put a shade cloth over them. And I do think it's partly because tomato wall is giving them a bit of a break in the late evening when they are just so tired from surviving the sunshine all day. So big win. Last on our tour is our raised garden. I won't do a complete walkthrough of all the details that we normally do, but I wanted to finish in here because it is looking really beautiful. Things are looking a little stressed again because of the great derecho that just like blasted through everything. So I've been slowly taking some things out, replanting, but I still love being in here. It's really beautiful. It's producing a ton of veggies for our family. I canned just like jars and jars and jars of green beans that came out of this garden. But another reason I love this is my fancier dahlias are in here. They're beautiful and cheery. I just planted some more. I've got bee balm and celosia and basil and borage and glads and tons of peppers and green beans growing in here. And it's fun to come in here. It's more peaceful. It's not as conventional farming feel. I'm really enjoying it. This section is more dahlias, and I have new varieties opening every day. We've got Thomas Edison here. This is a beautiful purple. This one is new to me. This one's called Tropical, which it looks like it's almost been like painted with a brush. We've got your classic lady here, Cafe au Lait, the queen of the dahlias. This one is super neat. This one's called Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes, I have to come in here and and cut some of these down so I get some fresh blooms with the rain that tarnished it. But the dahlias are happy this year. Dahlias were really hard last year. I was nervous if I could grow dahlias in Oklahoma, but this year it says yes. So that's our beautiful flower farm right now on July 3rd, second year. It is looking wonderful. There was like a dicey week in the middle of June where there's a lot of tears and a lot of burn it all down when we were dealing with some serious bug issues. But I'm so thankful we got on top of that. Things have reflushed and recovered, and we're on track to have a wonderful summer. Like I mentioned briefly, last Saturday was our biggest sales day of the year. So people are definitely happy with our flowers. I think they're excited about this summer. So I'm thrilled. I'm glad that we've gotten our act together to be prepared in the fall with all of our succession planting. And the raised garden year 2 is just a joy to be in. Wonderful lessons learned. Things we'll do different in the future. We'll do videos about that, talking about some things that we plan to change, the things that worked and didn't. But overall, only wonderful, positive things to say. And it's just such a joyful year on our flower farm.